Okay, baby. Okay, people, welcome back to another edition of Figure or Fodder, where I take a quick look at some of the figures that didn't make it to the review table, or aren't planned to make it to the review table. They're either older, or I just forgot about them, or they got stuck in the stack and it's way too late. So basically, I'm quickly opening some toys, deciding if they're going on the shelf, or if they're going in a tub or a bin, or being set aside for some custom in the future at some point. But first I'm going to recap the last few reviews I did do. The Marvel Legends Thor Ragnarok 2-pack of Thor and Valkyrie. Very nice set. I like the Thor better than the single-carded one, but after lots of comments of maybe his head is a little bit small, maybe Valkyrie's head is a little bit large, I still like them. So both Thor and Valkyrie are going on the shelf. Plus I love that electric accessory that Thor comes with. And then I did a full-on review of Hasbro Star Wars The Black Series General Leia and Maz Kanata. You probably got sick of hearing it during the long review, but it's just, you know, getting action figures of characters that aren't known for action. The bio does say Maz picks up a gun, and I guess we're going to see her in action in the next movie. But for the time being, I just picture her as, you know, running a bar, hanging out with Han, running around after Rey. It's not really action-oriented. And then, of course, there's General Leia. And to address the comments on a couple of them, that's not a camel toe, that's the seam in the costume. Get your head out the gutter. But as un-action-oriented as these two characters are in my brain at this point, I feel like they're important characters. They're essential characters. They move the story along, and plus it's Leia. I'll take any version of Leia possible. Maz, given her size and the accessories, it makes me want more smaller characters with stuff in the package to make it, you know, seem like a value to me to spend $20 on it. I'm talking Ewoks. Yeah, I said Ewoks. But moving along to the quick reviews, I picked up the evil Rick and Morty construction set from McFarlane Toys. Now, I've put together a couple of the Walking Dead sets like this. I liked them, they're okay, I don't have a place for them, but this is Rick and Morty. I didn't like the Funko figures too much, so I thought, hey, why not pick up block figures of these two? Plus at 98 pieces, it seemed like an easy set to get into. It doesn't look that intricate from the picture on the front of the box. Essentially, I got this to work my way up to the Garage and Spaceship set. Just see how much I like this, and if I wanted to spend the money on that. And it's worth it. One thing, McFarlane, you need to work on the instructions. It's a little bit confusing, and it looks like it was printed on a Xerox machine from 1995 or something. But after sitting and thinking about it and looking at it, I did figure it out. Probably took too long, but hey, it's me. Now, I felt this way with the Walking Dead sets, and I feel this way now, and that's McFarlane kind of breaks these up just to make them construction sets. I feel like there's parts thrown in there that didn't really need to be broken up, like the back wall. It could have been just one piece. It's interesting, and I see what they're going for, but it's a simple set, well, after I figured it out. But I do like the idea of building the house. The one piece comes with the garage, another set comes with another part of the garage. I saw that they solicited a set with Summer that has her bedroom, so you could build a lot of dioramas here. And the figures aren't bad either. My Morty is looking to the left. It's not pictured that way on the front, but I'm kind of okay with it. I don't know how much I dig the flap shirt, though. Did that need to be there? It could have been just, you know, his body. So I don't know what that's about. The other thing is Rick was built in the package, but you had to build Morty from pieces. Now Morty is structurally sound, I guess you could say. He's solid. All the pieces are made out of a nice plastic. You get to Rick, and he's made out of rubber for whatever reason. I mean, look at that. Rubbery. The head's also rubbery like this. Morty, not so much. He's solid. It doesn't really flop out like that. I'm thinking they made Rick's arms like that to match the lab coat that is rubbery going over his torso, but didn't need to be, I guess. And there was a secret piece inside the set, and that would be a plumbus. I don't know if the rest of the sets contain secret pieces, but that's kind of a cool thing to throw in there. I don't know if it's going on the shelf, it's going somewhere, but I went out and got the other piece. I liked it enough to get this, so we'll see. Next up is the Bandai Dragon Star Frieza. I picked this up because it looked interesting. I didn't really need it because I have the model kit Frieza, but I wanted to compare the two and see if this line was viable for the shelf. It's not a bad figure. I like the finish on it. I kind of like the shininess to it, And I also like that it's not just stark white. There's some purple shading throughout the figure. But it being Bandai America, it kind of has its problems. It uses a lot of ideas from SH Figure Arts, but the quality doesn't match SH Figure Arts. The wrists have the motion of an SH Figure Arts joint. The hips drop down and give you a lot more motion, but I feel like a lot of the joints are loose, almost floppy. You can get them to stand, you can get them into poses, but it's a chore to kind of get into position. But you compare it to the model kit Frieza, who, well, that's my main line, and it's comparable. The head is a little bit larger, the details aren't quite as sharp, but if you didn't want to build the model kit Frieza, this is perfectly acceptable substitute. Now the head movement, because of how tight the concave is up under the head, it doesn't have a lot of motion there, so it kind of kills a lot of the action poses. But again, that could probably be fixed. In fact, I'd look at this figure as a starting point. It has potential. The Beerus has caught my eye, but only because there's not a model kit of him, but I don't like the proportions on the rest of the figures like Goku and Vegeta, at least looking at the back of the package. So I won't be buying this line, but if my Frieza ever falls off the shelf and breaks and shatters and into a million pieces, I have something that can replace it. And the Build-A-Figure Shinron piece is interesting, but for the price that you pay per figure to build this Shinron, I might as well go buy the Figure Arts version. Next up, I finally built the Bandai Figurized Standard Dragon Ball Z Vegeta, Super Saiyan version of course. Now before the build, judging from pictures, I thought he'd be blocky and kind of awkward, and to tell the truth, the figure actually is when you get it built. But getting it built and getting him standing there and cocking his head a little bit, you get the utter bastard that is Vegeta. It just looks great. Putting him beside the Super Saiyan Goku and the Super Saiyan Gohan, the skin tones match a lot better than the Goku and Krillin set that I got a couple of weeks ago. The effects here are fantastic. I love the extra details added to them with the lightning effects, and well, they're Vegeta effects, so of course they're going to be different than the other model kits, but I appreciate the difference here. And if I had built this before the Goku and Krillin set, I would have realized that this is the first appearance of, well, at least I think, the first appearance of those wrists with the extra articulation in them, the flat palmed hands. I said that came first with the Krillin set. Nope, it came with Vegeta. So this is definitely going on the shelf with the rest of my model kits. I love the addition of Vegeta. I'm still waiting for that version with the black hair, you know, powered down version. But until then, this will work perfectly. And it makes me want to go back and build the two androids I got, and I think I have Kid Buu in the stack somewhere, so a lot of building in the upcoming weeks. On my continuing quest to build the Gladiator Hulk, I opened the Jane Foster Thor. Now I have the San Diego set unopened, sitting in the stack somewhere. I'll get to that at some point. So I don't know how these two compare. I like the dedicated sculpt that this figure got. I love her little ankle covers. Her feet have wings just like her head. But to put in that much new sculpt, even the upper torso, to not sculpt the abdomen with the cloth piece and the kind of buckle or whatever it is right there, that's a damn shame. The painted detail stands out against the rest of the figure. I think that little bit of oomph would have made me put this on the shelf, but it's staying off the shelf for now, going in the bin, mostly because I don't know who this character is. I know who it is, don't get me wrong, I just haven't read a comic with her in it. And shelf constraints. I mean, I don't have a lot of room for figures that I don't absolutely care about. But it's not going to the custom bin. I don't want to tear this apart for something else. I want to like the character someday, and someday I will read all those comics, and I'll probably like her, and she'll go on the shelf. I'll also hopefully have a larger room by then. And then finally the Mezco figure that nobody was expecting me to open. Everybody's been on my ass about opening my 1/12 Collective Punisher, and I will get to it, but I wanted a good Captain America, and I hadn't messed with the Captain America. I have messed with the Punisher. I know I'm gonna like him. I wanted to get a baseline of some kind before I get into newer figures. Captain America being a little older, and knowing that Mezco has upped their game since then, I wanted to see what it was like from back then. Plus, I don't have a kick-ass Captain America for my shelf, I feel like. A classic-inspired one. I know this is modern mixed with classic, but that's my jam, to quote the kids these days, or quote the kids from a decade ago. I like the addition of the modern boots and the gloves and the belt to the more classic costume, and especially the head wings, which is probably my favorite part. And I have to say, ooh, the ankles do suck. I should have listened to everybody, but I had to see it for myself. It really cuts down on the dynamic posing you can get this figure into. But man, the magnet shield is brilliant. I like that you can just snap it on, snap it off, it's on, it's off. If the figure falls over, it pops off, but it's still a great concept that I wish more companies would use. But I can see where they've progressed in the head and hand area. Deadpool's hands and head, fairly soft. It pops on and off. It's the nicest pop on and off I've ever had on any action figure. Going back to this Captain America, the hands pop off, okay, it's a little bit tight. But getting the other hands on from the package, yeah, I seem to be having trouble with that. But I've been told some heat will help with that. I'll get to that later. Saying all that, this is going on the shelf. I feel like it just represents my version of Captain America the best out of any figures that I've gotten. And before anybody says anything about the Revoltech coming, the Revoltechs have their own dedicated shelf, so that doesn't mix in with the rest of the display. Plus you get a metal tin. This is a nice convention exclusive type thing, but I can see the problem of bringing this back from a convention or getting on an airplane or having to carry this thing somewhere else. Plus, every time I open it, I expect cookies. I don't know. So there you go, some good, some bad. Plus, I get to open more toys. That's always a win in my book. Next week, I'll be looking at even more figures. I've got some more imports. I have some more models. I have some more knickknacks. So, until then, let me know if you like this new segment down below or what you think of these figures. I'm not pointing at the floor. I have a table right here with my stuff on it. But until then, throw me a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.